Greetings, everyone. Greetings, everybody. I hope you're having a good day. Hey, I just wanted to jump on for a moment, and share with you my story, my individual story of being raised as an unbaptized Jehovah's Witness. I want to have put that disclaimer on this message because anybody who was raised in the organization know that there is a difference. Thus, my story is not as traumatic or dramatic as a lot of other people's stories. But as I follow the EXJW activists, as I follow these videos of this movement, I just feel I feel it's my duty to add to the story, to share my voice to the thousands and thousands of others. That's my duty. I don't have time to do it. It's really not my thing to do it like all the time. I'm just not wired up that way. But I do feel it's my duty to add to the content. As Lady C and JT often say, yeah, some of us were on this side of the spectrum of where I am, of not being baptized, and then you have some people that was all the way in. I mean, really, really in. And then you have those who have been affected by abuse, and that's a whole different layer. And I just want to add to the story. I just want to add, to the stories. So I'm gonna try to put this into sections. And I want to start with being raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I say that I was born in. That's what I say. But actually, my mother can show me pictures of me being a young kid, maybe 1, 2, maybe 3. I'm not certain. But she can show me pictures of me celebrating Christmas as a young child. Now, personally, I don't remember that. So thus, I look at it like I was born in, because being a Jehovah's Witness was all I know. Now, going back as far as I can, I don't ever remember my mother getting baptized. She was baptized. I just don't remember the time and date when she was baptized. So in my mind, she got baptized before my father. And I remember when my mom would take my sister. It was just us two at the time, me and my sister, and we're very close, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. But anyway, she would take me and my sister to the hall, and my dad didn't go to the hall. He did not go to the hall. I remember when we used to come back from the hall, oftentimes my dad was sitting at the house watching football because he was a big football fan. So my family they were real laid back people. Growing up, I had a good childhood, even though it was kind of weird being a witness. But my family was more like the mid witnesses. Mama might auxiliary pioneer sometime. Dad might carry the microphone sometime. Yeah, we went to the 5 meetings religiously. We went out in field service some Saturdays, right? So we did the whole thing, but my parents were kind of balanced with it, right? So I say I had a good childhood. It was kind of weird being a Jehovah's Witness going to school. You can't stand up and say the pledge. When the kids come back talking about their Christmas clothes, you kind of have to just avoid the conversation. But it bothered me. Looking back, maybe I knew how to flow. Maybe I knew how to, be a chameleon, right? So it was a little different. But like I said, I was never abused. I was never, nothing like that happened. But just to put a pin right there, I do remember this one time coming back from the meeting. This was once my dad got on board. And it's crazy now that I look back on it. I remember we was coming back from the meeting. It was me, my sister, and my mother and my father. And I guess me and my sister and I had been acting up in the meeting. In the meetings you can't talk like little kids. You got to sit still and listen and be indoctrinated, right? And so I remember we got out of the meeting, and me and my sister must have not acted properly, the Jehovah's Witness way. And I remember we were going back to the house, and we were staying in an apartment at the time. We were walking through the breezeway, and all the kids had been playing, because guess what? They parents, they wasn't worried about taking them to church. So they were out there playing. And everybody was like, hey, can Michael and Michelle, can they come out and play? And my dad had a switch. And he was like, yeah, they can come out, but they got to get some of this first. And I look back on it like, dang, that's kind of messed up. Coming from church, Kingdom Hall, or whatever, the meeting, the first thing you're going to do is have pride about whooping your kids. Now, to be honest, I don't even remember the whooping. I don't even remember if we even got the whooping. I don't remember. But I remember us walking in there and him raising that stick. Yeah, they can come out after they get some of this. And it's really a trip, because my dad is such a mild man. I think that's where I get it from. I'm just laid back. But I just can't imagine getting excited about punishing your kids because they didn't act a certain way in this meeting. It's just odd. But I remember it. So that's one little childhood memory that I have. And I'm like, that's what that religion does. It just, you're going to discipline them to sit here and be indoctrinated. But other than that, growing up, I can say this, and I've come to notice this just lately, that even though I was raised a witness, there's two things that kept me sane. One is that I had non-Jehovah's Witness family on both sides, big families. Grandmama, granddaddy on this side, grandmama, granddaddy on that side. Everybody had big families. I'm talking about 6 and 7 uncles over here, 7, 8, 9 uncles and aunts over here. And my parents were so young. My dad had me when he was 16. My mom was probably about 18. Because they were so young, they needed this big family support system to help raise us. They needed it. They couldn't do it at 16 and 18 to raise me and my sister. So we spent all kind of time on both sides of my families. We went to school from this grandmama's house, this auntie's house. We spent the night with this auntie. And these were just normal people, right? They were just normal people. Now, my daddy's side, straight Baptist. I'm talking about for real Baptist. I'm talking about great-granddaddy pastor. His daddy was a Baptist pastor. They made gospel albums at the time and toured through the city and through the state. Look them up, the Corder family. So that's his side of the family. My mama's side of the family, her mother was African Methodist Episcopal, and her father was Catholic. Now I don't know how that worked out, but so they went to Catholic sometime, then they went to the AME church sometime. So, but this was my family, and these were the people who helped raise me. And so I'm still a big family person. But that is one thing that I think helped me keep a little bit of my sanity. The other thing, we'll get to that later when I move up to my teenage years. So, but even as a child, I do remember having a lot of nightmares. I always had a lot of nightmares. I had this one particular night when I had a nightmare. Then my sister jumped up having a nightmare. And we running through the house hollering, Jehovah, Jehovah, Jehovah. And after it was all said and done, we went and slept on my parents' floor. But my dad laughed. And I'm thinking it was like a laughter of, this don't make no sense. But I remember him laughing. And I was like, why is this, I'm looking back. I'm like, why is this funny? But, sometimes it's what do you call those kind of laughs? When you really you're laughing because I can't even think of the word. Nervous, like a nervous laughter. Yeah, like a nervous laughter. But I remember having a lot of nightmares when I was a kid. Now let's move to my teenager years. By my teenager years, it just wasn't sticking to me, right? Some of the stuff, it just never really made sense. Yeah, I was an unbaptized publisher, went in field service a little bit, gave a few little talks, but it just really wasn't sticking, right? I don't think I was bad association, but I probably wasn't good association either. I ain't never had to be pulled in the back. Elders came by my house a few times talking about crazy little stuff I did, taking the car, all of this, just little typical stuff you do, nothing major. And as far as like the girls, I'm a teenager, right? I'm liking these girls now. I'm liking these girls. Yeah, I'm feeling a little something, feeling myself. But I never would mess with a witness girl. It just was not happening, because in the back of my mind, I knew what messing with a witness girl was supposed to be. And I just didn't even want to. Yeah, I just didn't. It just didn't feel right. So up to this day, I never messed with witness girls. Now, I kicked it with a few witness girls later on when in my early 20s, but kicking it with somebody, come on, and really messing with somebody seriously, two different things. So growing up, I just knew, no, if you want to have a little girlfriend, go out here and get you a worldly girl. This right. Now get you a good worldly girl. That's how crazy that sounds. But anyway, I never did mess with no witness girls. I just knew not to. What else? But so as a teenager, it just didn't make sense. But here it is, the kicker. I still believed it to be the truth because I've been indoctrinated so much. But it just wasn't sticking. It was not sticking. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. But it just wasn't sticking. Some of the stuff that wasn't sticking is the whole Armageddon piece. I was like, hold up. Y'all telling me my grandmamas, they don't do nothing. These people don't smoke, drink. They've been married for years. They don't curse. Hell, they live better than half the witnesses I know. And y'all gonna tell me that we serve a God that's just gonna kill them because they don't believe totally like we believe, but they go to church and love people and feed people? That just never add up. You couldn't make that make sense to me. And another thing was these anointed ones. I mean, I used to ask my pops, I'd be like, what's this anointed thing? Who are these people? And how do they know they special? And nobody could ever give me an answer. So at that point, I was just like, man, this stuff ain't making sense. I'm leading my life. I am a witness, but it's not sticking. I still believe it to be true, but I know when I get to a certain age, I'm getting out of this house because I'm not built for this stuff. But it's the truth, but I'm not built for it. So now I'm about 20 years old. This point in time, I'm working a lot. So I'm living at the house, but I'm working, and I'm not going to a lot of meetings. And my mom, I never like to bash my parents because I love my parents. We can still talk. We just don't talk about no religious stuff. But my mom at the time, she just came to me and was like, look, it's time for you to go. Because at that time, I was just doing what I wanted to do, hanging out, kicking it, coming in 3, 4 in the morning, hanging out with my cousins. My mom was like, it's time for you to go. Now, to be fair, she helped me find an apartment. She even helped me to buy a car, right? But she said it was time to go. And so she found me a little spot. At this time, a lot of my mom's side lived in a certain part of town, and we were living in a certain part of town. And she found me an apartment in a certain part of town. So so I can't say she kicked me out. She set me up, which was cool. So we now have my little apartment. We kicking it. I'm talking about we partying every night. All my cousins I grew up with, we partying. My dad would come see us sometime and just look around and shake his head. But my partners knew, every once in a while I would go through a thing where I would pull out my Bible and go and seclude myself and read the publications. You know how it is. Every once in a while you have a crisis and you're like, well, maybe I need to go back to the meeting. Well, if I didn't go back to the meeting, at least read the publication. So I wasn't one of those kind of things, but I'm still kicking it. I'm still kicking it. Yeah, I'm still kicking it. Early 20s. So and another thing that happened that stood out around that time, when I was moving out, my younger sister. Now, by this time, I have a child. I do have a child, about 19, 20, somewhere in there. But at this time, I didn't even get in trouble for that because I don't think they ever felt I was going to be a witness. No way. But anyway, My little sister, the one right behind me, she gets pregnant. She gets pregnant with a Muslim dude. All right. The trip part about it, this is not a Jehovah's Witness thing. This is kind of a sexism thing, yeah, or a cultural thing. When I got my now wife pregnant, me and her had a conversation. Oh, no, we ain't doing no marriage. You ain't ready. I ain't ready. We gonna co-parent. And that was done deal. But it's like they forced my sister to get married. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to leave that alone. I don't think that's a witness thing. Because he was a Muslim dude. I don't know if it's a black thing, a cultural thing, or a patriarchy thing, or a sexism thing. I don't know. But they forced her to get married. So now here she is married. She has the baby before she gets married before she has the baby. When she has this baby, she needs, for whatever reason, she needs a blood transfusion. Now, I remember I'm up out the house. I'm doing my own thing. I'm really not worried about it, which I look back and it's really kind of messed up. Because in my mind, now I'm ashamed to say this, but I'm going to say it. I didn't say it then, but I'm going to say it now. In my mind, I was just like, I guess my sister going to have to die. I guess this it. She going to have to die. That's how I was thinking. So I just went on about my life. I was just like, well, yeah, I'm ready. Man, I'm going to the party tonight. My sister up in the hospital. I didn't say this, but in my mind, I'm like, I guess she about to die, right? Cuckoo, crazy, yeah. So I remember that point in time, and I remember my sister being in the hospital, and all the elders, all up at the hospital. I remember going to visit her. It was just bad. It was just sickening. So I just visited. You know, I would go visit, but then I went on about my business, just figuring this is it. My sister gonna have to die. So she ended up taking the blood transfusion. So I didn't care. I didn't think nothing about it. I was just like, oh, okay, cool. She took the blood transfusion. Okay, still living, baby still living, still alive. The word is, I don't know how true this is, because it's the guy she had married years later pulled me to the side. He said that my dad pulled him aside at the hospital and told him, you make the decision. Do anything you can do to save my daughter. Had tears in his eyes. I believe that. I believe that happened. But between my sister, she wasn't even baptized. My sister, between my dad and my mom, they were so indoctrinated, they couldn't even make the choice. So they had to put it on him. And I guess, thank God, she was married, so he could pull the trigger and make the choice. So that was something that happened around 20. I didn't really think anything about it. I was like, she got a blood transfusion, whoop-de-whoop. So now I'm a young man. I moved out. But it's still the truth. It's still the truth. I done moved out. Every once in a while, I would go to the meetings. You know, I might go to a memorial. I'm still indoctrinated. I get married. My wife, she for real Christian. I mean, she a Christian. She go to church. She lives good. Let me just talk about my wife for a minute. I got married 25 to my daughter's mom. She was Christian, raised Christian. You know, went to church, tried to love people, treat people right. That's why I married her, right? So I still didn't go to the house. She used to take the kids to church pretty much every Sunday. And I did like my dad. I just stayed at the house. I might even go to church sometime for a special event. I might go, right? And so that was that. So I'm married, having kids. She's raising them Christian. I go to the house still sometimes. Matter of fact, I got some good stories right here. Matter of fact, she used to even go with me sometime when my kids were real young. They couldn't even understand what was going on. And she used to just look around like, what the hell is going on? What is this? You know, she used to some black church. Where's the choir? Why is it so quiet? Why is it so boring? What is this? But she didn't ever trip. And one particular time, now mind you, my wife comes from an educated family. She comes from an educated family. So by this time, she probably has 1 degree, ready to start working on the second one. And actually now she's working on a PhD. So she comes from that kind of people. You know me, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. I ain't got time for all that. I just work a job. I work me a blue collar job. That's what I do. Right? So, you know, this one particular year we went to assembly. I don't know which kind of assembly it was. We went to assembly, and you know, Jehovah's Witness in the culture, you take an assembly and it's like a little vacation. So I took my wife, my sister took her Muslim husband, and my other sister took her Christian husband. Ain't that funny? Ain't nobody married no witness. What they tell you. But anyway, so we all at the assembly. Now mind you, my wife come, y'all know where this ready to go. My wife come from an educated people. Here come the part where they pull the boy out here. I had a full scholarship to a very prominent school. I want to say he said UT. I had a full scholarship, and I turned it down. And everybody got to clapping. My wife looked around. And later on, she said, honey, I did not understand that. He turned down a scholarship. And that was the end of the conversation. So at halftime, at the midpoint in the event, the convention, whatever you call them, the assembly, whatever. All of those, the husbands of us, our family, they all left. They was like, man, we didn't come out of town to sit in here all day. You know, them things be long. They went all back to the hotel room, went to get some lunch, went to swim. You know, we sit there just, you know, cause we so used to it, right? So we sit there and do that thing, right? So let me see. Okay, now let's get to, so here I am, grown, halfway Jehovah's Witness, unbaptized, but I still believe it's the truth. I still believe it's the truth. So now I'm grown, working, you know, I got a good family, got a good marriage, you know, pretty decent. We okay. She teaching. I got my blue collar job, right, driving my forklift. We make decent money. Everything fine. Kids okay. I'm working at this recycling plant. This is how it all started. I'm working at this recycling plant. And at this recycling plant, we get in all kind of books all the time. And so if I didn't have a truck to load or a train to load, I'm just kind of chilling on my forklift, kind of chilling on my phone, whatever. Or I go look through them bins to try to find something to read. And I found this little skinny book, little bitty book, nothing major. And it just had a definition, like maybe a page definition on all world religions. I thought it was interesting. I was like, I'm reading through it. I'm like, okay, Hinduism, Buddhist, all kind of stuff. It was about, man, it was all kind of religion. So I was just reading. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Then I get to the page that Christianity, then Jehovah's Witness. So I read, I'm like, oh, Jehovah's Witness, they got something. Let me see what they're gonna say. And I read it. I was like, okay, that's really about the truth. And so then I read Christianity, and this is where it all started messing up. And I was like, well, based upon this description of Christianity, I really believe more like this. But I thought we were Christians. But I really believe more like this versus what they saying over here. So then my mind is kind of spinning. Now, as a witness, you learn, you know a lot about Bible. You know, I know how to get through my Bible, right? So I'm like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna read this Bible. The only thing I got is a witness Bible, so I'm gonna read this Bible. And I knew enough about Bible. If I'm thinking about, you know, getting myself together with God and really doing some spirituality, because at that time I was like, you know, you're going on 30. Yeah, you need to get some kind of spirituality going together. And I was ready to go do the witness thing, because guess what? That's all I knew. So I began just to read the Bible. And I knew enough about Bible. I was like, check it out. I'm just going to read all the New Testament. Old Testament ain't ready to help me with what I'm trying to figure out. So I read all of it. I mean, I ain't never read Bible like it, and still don't. Okay. And so I read I'm reading the Gospels. Then I'm reading Paul's epistles. Then I'm reading all of this. And I mean, I'm reading about my wife looking at me like, boy, what's wrong? What's going on with you? What's going on? I'm like, man, I'm just trying to figure something out. And after I read just those scriptures, I was like, this lines up more with what grandmama and them saying than what I've been taught all my life. If I'm gonna believe something, I mean, what they talking about, this Jesus they talking about in this Bible is more like what grandmama and them saying, right? So now I'm like, hold up, man, I gotta do some research. I might have got on the internet, and you know I was scared to do that. I'm trembling. I might got on the internet. I was scared just like everybody else. Trembling, thinking a demon ready to come off and get you. And I got, but it wasn't that much at that particular point in time. And so I did that. And then I said, I need to go to the library. Now, mind you, I don't have a book in my house. Now, I have a full library now. Thank you. I have a full library now, but at the time, I didn't do no reading. My wife did all the reading. I don't know. I ain't got time for that. I go to the library, man. I get a stack. Anything I can find on Jehovah's Witness. I bring that joint home. Now my wife is really tripping. She's like, "Are you okay? What's going on?" I said, "I'm just trying to figure some stuff out." And the last one I got to, y'all already know what it is. Come on, y'all. The last one I got to was Crisis of Conscience. I read that junk about, 2 days. I remember being at one of my kids, it was either softball practice, soccer practice, and I went with my wife and her mother was with us. I had to take the book. So I'm sitting up in the stands reading, and her mom was looking like, what's wrong with Mike? He out here with a book. He don't even read like that, you know. But after I read the Crisis of Conscience, I was done. I was like, man, this is a mess. And the thing is, I've always believed in God. That's just an innate part of me. I'm just wired up like that. I've always been a real spiritual person. And one of the hardest things for me to do was get on my knees and pray to Jesus. I remember walking through my house, pacing. Nervous, I was nervous to pray to Jesus. I was nervous. That's how much fear and indoctrination that they had put in us. And so after I prayed to Jesus and I see it was cool, and now I was free to think for myself and to form my own concept of God and to be free, I ain't never looked back. Went to my wife's church. Sit there, I remember sitting there that Sunday, kept asking her, when is that time I can go down to the front? Because I want to be baptized. When is that time when I can go down to the front? And she was like, calm down, bro. And so I went to her church, got baptized, and everybody at her church was looking like, what happened? And looking back, man, I mean, I ain't never been that high in my life, right? I ain't never been that high in my life. But looking back, understanding what had happened, it was two things going on. One thing, my mind had been freed from this bad belief. And another thing, at the same time, I was able to begin to deconstruct one thing and construct another thing. Then I could begin to see a God in a different way, or to see the teachings of Jesus in a different way. And so both of these things are happening at the same time. So I'm on, everybody's like, this Negro is going crazy. But after a while, you know, it come down and it makes sense. So I ain't never looked back, you know. I ain't never looked back. I went on to get 2 degrees in Bible and theology because I really like the stuff. I ain't never wanted to go to school in my life. Now I got 2 degrees in Bible and theology. One from a very significant school, and I mean, I just never look back. I do ministry. I do real ministry. You can see I work for the Salvation Army, doing stuff that Jehovah's Witnesses don't do. So every day I'm out here feeding the hungry and working with the homeless people and taking people to doctors, you know, and all of that, you know, all of that stuff that they don't even do. But that's what I do every day. So Yeah, I ain't never looked back. Marriage still good. I don't get it, man. And so the thing this is what I would like to ask Jehovah's Witnesses. Y'all be out here knocking on people's doors. What do you have to offer me to take place for what I have right now? I got a good marriage. All my kids have got a college education. I done got 2 degrees. My wife working on a PhD. Y'all want me to listen to some uneducated, old, goofy white man tell me, oh, you can't wear a beard. You can't listen to this. You can't do that. You can't do this. You can do this. Oh yeah. Man, y'all crazy. No. Come on now. Oh, and the other thing I didn't get to, and I'm out of here. The other thing that I said, it was 2 things that helped me keep my sanity. One thing is I had outside family, right? A lot of them, and I was around them all the time. The other thing, I've always been a creative person. So I grew up in hip hop culture. I grew up doing rap stuff, you know, and the positive thing about my dad, I remember my dad bought me my first mixer and turntable set. So I was doing that even as a Jehovah's Witness kid, you know. So I've always been a creative person. And that music, I mean, I wrote the music. I was around people who did the music, who were not witnesses. They were good people though. Yeah, my main dude, I did way more than him, you know, as a Jehovah's Witness kid, but that's a whole nother story. But just being around, you know, listening to your music, you know, in my era, it was like listening to Tupac and reading on Malcolm X, and then listening to Public Enemy and KRS-One. I could not make that work with this Jehovah's Witness thing, but I knew they was telling the truth. So it was like, and that's another reason that the stuff didn't stick. But anyway, that's my story. I just wanted to add it to the pot. Yeah, I just wanted to add it to the pot, man. Y'all keep doing what y'all doing. I hope this helps somebody out. And if I could say anything to you, man, just research and get free. Live your best life. If you go believe in God, have a good concept of God. Because here's the deal. Bad theology. If you have a bad concept of God, you're going to have a bad concept of people. And then you're going to be able to treat people any kind of way. Yeah. And that concept of God that they have, the Jehovah's Witnesses have, if that's God, I don't want to serve that God. I don't want to do it. No, I'm not going to do it. So, that's all I have. That's all I have. Y'all stay up. Stay blessed. Think. Use your critical thinking. Love you. Peace out.